Enter the crib. Your Strike Back sit rep starts in 3, 2, 1. Wait, do we go on 0?
Welcome back, Meavers. We are here to talk about episode 5, that super light comedic episode. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Deb.
So there are spoilers ahead. This
Major
is a big
spoilers.
one. Yeah, if you have not watched episode 5, please do not listen to this. Major spoilers ahead. We also have our behind-the-scenes facts from Jack Lothian, executive producer, showrunner, writer. We have Dan MacPherson stopping by to talk about why this episode was not Wyatt's fault. And oh my god, what a terrible question. And then we have an interview with Director Jon Jones that was absolutely fantastic. This is his first time on Strike Back was this block, and we just absolutely loved chatting with him. So stick around for all that. Oh god. Okay, here we go.
Oh.
Deb, how you feel about this episode?
Well, it was an amazing episode. It's probably the best episode 5 of the whole series. And you know it takes a lot for me to say that.
Yeah.
But in terms of sheer just, oh my God, what is really going on here? Impact. There's no beating it. I mean, this was an absolute total game changer in every sense of the word. So, my God, what didn't happen in this episode? I mean, it was nonstop action. There were so many reveals in like big ways and small ways. And we literally left this episode going, we have no idea what's really going on here. What's the end game? What is it? Who really is the baddie? And what is going on?
Yeah.
And I've never been at such a what is going on point in this series ever. So
yeah, it is unbelievable. I agree, and I think this it was such a good episode, and I have said this before, and I said it to both guys we interviewed for the block. It is a Strike Back episode, but it also feels so different. You have this amazing intimacy, the close-ups in the interrogation scene. We talked about last year, Warren Brown hadn't had a chance really to sink his teeth in emotionally yet, and we got that. Shit. And sorry, Zoe, I know you asked us not to talk about Matt getting injured or something bad happening to him. I'm afraid we just can't avoid that anymore.
there's no way you can avoid it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I told you so, because that would hurt too much. Yeah, no, this was rough. But amazing done. I mean, that whole... Okay, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Overall feeling, it was phenomenal. Okay. Can we start off with what the fuck scene this time? Because, I didn't think we need to just, flip this.
I think the real question is, how do you pick one?
Yeah.
I mean, my God. Okay, so what did you pick?
Okay, I had 2 in mind that are connected, and I was gonna pick whatever one you didn't. So I'm gonna say, oh shit. Okay, Ariana DiMacci, him seeing her face right there after you've had this slog, this one shot up the stairs, and he's getting shot, he's getting beat up, and he's so emotional, and then it's break, and she's there, and what the fuck? Quite the entrance by her. So, all right, thanks for putting that on me. All right, your turn.
Well, I think I have 7 of them written down for this episode. But I think just there's no way you can't choose that, because it wasn't just a what the fuck moment for us. Yeah. It was Mac's what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the absolute look on his face. He was, after going through that entire one shot, by the way, that epic journey to get up there and find out what the heck is going on, and then to have her jump out, and that it was him being so stunned and literally thinking to himself, what the fuck, that allowed Zayef to shoot him.
Yeah.
So, it was it was the ultimate horrific what the fuck moment.
Oh,
So even though this episode is absolutely jam-packed with those moments, there's no way you can't choose that.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I mean, almost as big, bigger to the plot overall, obviously, is Zayef.
Yeah.
Saying, that was your plan. That was their plan.
Right.
This is my plan. What? We don't
Yeah.
even know what the plan is.
No, we have no idea.
Oh my God, Zayef is just like the ultimate creepy baddie. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yikes. And, what performance from both Zayef and Mahir. I mean, Alex Sekaronu, who plays Zayef, is so good and so creepy.
Oh, yeah.
And you really don't, is he mentally ill? Does he have a brain tumor? There's something clearly not right with this man.
Yeah.
And he is so cold and so calculating that, why is this a surprise to us that none of this is actually his plan, and yet it is. And oh my God, Bamshed Abedi Amin, who plays Mahir, is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's
been so good all along, but wow. I mean, all of that with those two tonight was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it feels like they lit Jack off a leash, and he was like, I'm going to do my best work ever because I don't even have anybody to tell me no now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. It hurts to talk about though. Okay, since we're going backwards, then we'll go from what the fuck moment to what was your emotional moment of the night. Pick one.
Oh. Yeah. Hello.
Episode 5. That was my emotional moment.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they're just okay. If I have to pick one, it's going to be Mac losing it in the interrogation. When Mahir said, well, first of all, another what the fuck? Where is all this British military intel coming from? How does Mahir know all these really unbelievable facts about Mac? That's just wild. But when he was working Mac like nobody's business, this is when you were reminded that Mahir is a baddie. As much empathy as you have for him, he's a baddie. But man, when he was just working him, I mean, Mac just played right into his game. And then when I think the second he said, you failed upwards.
Yeah.
Oh man, that hurt. So, I mean, there's so many of them in this episode, but I'm going to go with that.
I don't even okay.
You're a puppet who can't see its strings. Oh, those.
Yeah, this whole thing is I mean, okay, so I was initially going to say my emotional moment, because it made me emotional, was when they're at the beginning and they're filming Mac's officer interview. Because I literally wrote down, oh shit, oh fuck. Because I was like, this feels like the setup of something bad.
Oh, it sure does, yeah.
And then but I think when the bomb goes off and it blows up Mahir, and Mac is wandering in his face, he's devastated and he feels so guilty, and he's trying to get them to go after Zayef, and Novin's like, no, we just stay here and all this. That was that I think that was going to be my emotional pick. Although then again, Warren at the end, Matt going up, and they're like, wait for us, and he can't because he just feels driven. He has to do this thing, and it's just oh, it makes me hurt. God damn it, Jack. It hurts. It really hurts.
Yeah, when Novin said, this is what matters right here. And yet, Mac is just so consumed with him. You failed upwards. You failed your team. You failed your missions. That's the only reason you're here. And he just cannot get rid of that. Yeah. That, it's all just assaulting him over and over and over again. And so the mission doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is his mission. Yeah. And oh my God, how is he going to get out of that? Oh,
that's a really good fucking question. Okay, so, fight. Your favorite fight of the night?
Okay, out of the 14 that I wrote down, because it's just, man, for all of the information we got in this episode, and this is what Strike Back does the best. We got so much information, we got so much emotion, and it was all done in little tiny snippets between massive fights. Just one massive fight after another. But I'm going to actually pick the internal fight that was going on in Mac. Okay. That, you know, with all of this devastation going on around them and all of these massive explosions and the bazillion bullets that flew in this episode, the only thing that really mattered was that internal dialogue going on in Mac.
Yeah. Well, that was a better pick than mine. No, I mean, I just have to go with the one shot at the end. You know, him, and it wasn't a hand-to-hand, it was just him fighting his way up the staircase, never stopping, you know, like, God, he got beat to hell. Shot, and then really shot, and it's sad, and I can't even joke. The only light moment I had in the entire, looking at my notes, was right at the beginning, and I wrote, how big is Wyatt's suitcase to hold all these shirts? And then it was darkness from there on out. Oh, fuck, Mac is hit. Oh, fuck, Cheddar's is hit. You know, like, they didn't stop it. Imperia's live. Oh, shit, Mahir has a bomb. Like, I swore a lot in my notes this time. God, it was so good, but, man, it's so hard to watch. Okay, so then, I guess, do we even have predictions for next time? Are we so completely fucked and lost that we don't?
It's kind of one of those things where you don't want to make a prediction because you don't want to jinx it.
Yeah. And
then you remind yourself that, hello, this was written months ago. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's an arterial wound, man. Yeah. Unless someone shows up damn quick and knows how to do vascular surgery, this is really not looking good for Mac.
No.
But it's Strike Back. I mean, hello. Yeah. If Dan can survive
the blow up, the magic tunnel.
Oh, yeah. Maybe there's a magic vascular surgeon in that apartment building.
Yeah. Shit, it's hard. Yeah. I'm not gonna. My genius prediction is that Ariana DiMacci is back. Bet on it, folks.
And getting by you, Kelsey.
Yeah, guys, honestly, I think this episode left me speechless. Seems to have left Deb speechless. Even though I want to talk about it, I feel like I'm so, like, I have so much emotion about it, but it's just like, fuck! That's, like, my emotion. And I don't have words to put to it.
And it's one, I think it's probably one of those episodes of Strike Back where the more, because we've obviously watched this several times now, and the more that you watch it, the more lost you get.
Yeah.
That the first time you watched it, it was like, the whole thing was like, holy hell. And the second time watching it to try to, pick out the moments, and the moments just keep blending together into just one big, what the fuck? I'm so upset.
Yeah.
So.
But I will say, I think the biggest takeaway from this episode is Warren Brown is one damn fine actor. Like, and it's
so nice to be able to see him finally get to show that, because if this is all you've seen him in, Mac hasn't been.
He's a great fighter and a fun action person, but you don't see that, like, dramatic skill that he has. Incredible.
So if you haven't watched Good Cop, or you haven't watched
X Company,
oh God, X Company, oh, and Good Cop, oh my God, Warren Brown's a hell of a crier. Let's just say that. My God, did that man cry. So yeah, it was so nice to see. And a lot of times it came across as, wow, why, like when they're trying to drive Mahir out, and you see Mac, and he's so nervous during all that, which we have never seen him that nervous.
Yeah.
So you automatically were on edge that something's just, even regardless of that opening sort of just the fact that he was so nervous during this entire episode. It's difficult to relax through the episode because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that this whole thing about being promoted just triggered so many things for him with his team that he just didn't realize were coming back up until he basically gets it like thrown in his face.
Right. You failed upward. Oh my God. What a line.
You know what the other frustrating thing for me during the episode was when he figures out that it's going to be Munich and nobody believes him.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, like, I get it. You all think he's, like, lost or emotional or whatever, but, like, he's come through again and again and again, and he doesn't just say shit. He's not Wyatt, you know. He's thoughtful, and so I was like, back him the fuck up, Wyatt. Stop that. Don't be a jerk. Mm-hmm. You're going to regret this later. Oh. Maybe. God, yes.
Well, and you see that what's going on in Mac is also going on within the team, that you know, they're sort of splintering. Yeah. And was it Jack who said that Strike Back is at its best when the team isn't gelled? Yeah. So I guess this is really the best. I don't know. Yeah. Because there's more fighting about what they're going to do. There's more sort of splintering into their own hidden shells. And yeah, that's scary.
Okay, well, on that cheery note, stick around for your behind-the-scenes facts from Jack Lothian, our visit with Dan MacPherson, and then our phenomenal interview with Jon Jones. He really was absolutely
good.
So good.
We've got Overwatch. Jack's facts coming in.
All right, guys, we are back with your Jack's facts. All right, number 1, the gas station was built from scratch by art director Robert Foster and his team and looked fantastic inside and out. So, of course, we blew it up with our biggest explosions yet. And just so you guys know, that Jon Jones does talk about that, and it is super cool how it happened.
Yeah, super cool. Super duper cool. Okay, originally, after the bomb went off, there was a shot of Mac moving through the smoke and a dog crossing his path. Sadly, it didn't quite fit in with the flow of the edit. So just imagine that somewhere amongst all of the devastation is a poor dog that's just lost its owner.
No! Oh, no! Jack! That is mean. Why would you tell us that? You're a dog owner. You know how terrible that is. Oh, my God.
Dog must have done something bad the day he wrote that.
Oh, yeah, it's my turn. The Schwarzer Temple estate where Matt goes at the end are 3 tower blocks built in the late 1960s, known locally as the Rockets. Schwarzer Temple translates as the Black Temple, which felt like a suitably ominous name for the place where Mac would get shot. Screw you. No, I'm kidding. We love you, Jack. This was amazing. Okay, guys. All right, that's it for your episode 5 behind the scenes Jack's Facts. Stick around for Dan.
On me. Back to the crib.
All right, guys, we are back with Dan MacPherson to talk about his terrible character. No, we all love Wyatt. Come on, not terrible character. We love Wyatt. But he is kind of a bumbling idiot at times. And I got to have a word with him because, you know, Wyatt was a real jackass to Mac in this episode. He didn't believe him about Munich. I feel like if he had just had his back, Mac wouldn't have felt that need to go out on his own, and we all know what happens when Mac goes out on his own. So why couldn't Wyatt be nice?
I was trying to support you, asshole. Was the line? You know, Wyatt doesn't realize that that's not maybe received as support sometimes. But like, I think he was again. I think Wyatt's intention just kind of got lost in his delivery, which generally kind of Jack's writing gets lost in my delivery as well. So. It all kind of works out. Jack works really hard on my nuance, and that's actually my fault. I take that out. But yeah, look, I think Wyatt was trying to sort of help Mac, and he says, you know, I was trying to support you. I was trying to tell you that we all would have done the same thing in your position, and so Mac goes off by himself. Now, I think, karma for Warren Brown, because Warren, for 3.5 years, has never let anybody leave a pub or a bar at any time of the day or night when they've wanted to leave. If you've wanted to just go, hey, man, I'm out, I'm going home by myself, what you get is, no, mate, you're going nowhere. And you go, no, mate, but I've got to work in the morning. No, you're not going anywhere, lad. Get another drink in. And so you can't leave. And I thought it was quite fitting. Jack's obviously noticed this over the course of 3 years and gone, well, guess what? This is what happens when you do leave Warren Brown by himself. We could have got rid of him years ago. And so Jack's obviously noticed that from Jordan and Budapest and London and Malaysia, from Penang and KL and Singapore and Hong Kong. And then finally we got to Zagreb, and finally the tables are turned. And we finally leave Warren to go and have one last drink by himself. And turns out he's the big baby who needed the babysitter all along. McAllister, my friend, you shouldn't have gone, lad. You should have stayed, mate. You should have waited for backup, lad. But hey, again, turns out Wyatt was right all along. What can I say?
We're not at Xfil. Stay with us at the crib.
Welcome back, Meebers. We are so excited to have our special guest, a brand new director for Strike Back this year, directing maybe, I think, one of the all-time top blocks of Strike Back history. It was a rough episode, we all know, but we loved every minute of it. Please welcome Director Jon Jones. Thank you for coming.
Great pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So I'm curious, just to start off, I mean, you and Michael Wood, the director of photography, both brand new to Strike Back, coming in huge episodes. What was that sort of experience for you? Were you prepared? Did you know about the show beforehand?
Yes, no, I have known about the show for a long time. I knew, I know Michael Casey very well, and we talked about doing Strike Back in the past when he was the producer in the dim and distant past. So I was very aware of it. I'd watched most of it actually, and I knew Left Bank, and I'd met them a fair few times about things, and I'd worked for Andy Harris, the exec producer. In fact, I think Andy gave me my first proper job.
Wow.
Which is, I was very young, so was he, I guess. So so I knew the history of it, and I understood it, and I had some friends who directed it before. So we came into it. I didn't know Michael before this. We met sort of on the job. We were looking to Christian Dench, the producer, and I were looking for a DOP, and I must confess it was Christian who said, "Look at this guy, Michael Wood. He's really interesting," And as soon as I met Michael, we got on very, very well. And as he said, simpatico souls. He kept saying, and I thought, yes, Michael, we are. And we had a great time. I mean, there are a lot of challenges, but I think we've both been challenged before. So it was great coming on board. It took us a lot. It took us time to. Jack was doing a lot of writing, rewriting, and whatever. So it was a fast prep. It really was, and we had to throw it together quite quickly, which had its challenges. But I think many a director would say they have similar.
So you did get two of the most unique episodes of Strike Back ever, and even within the block, there's distinct differences between the two episodes, with episode 5, which we're talking about today, being a little more traditional, leading into a significantly less traditional episode 6. But episode 5 had really a lot of emotion in it, which when you realize it's also one of the most action-packed episodes of the season, which is saying a lot. How did you find that balance between how much time you were going to spend on that extreme action that we had going on and those really, really key emotional moments?
That's a really That's a really interesting question. And I'm going to be honest. I don't really know the answer to that question. In that, I think we were really lucky. We, like Michael and I, because I worked with Michael subsequently, and we're working on something right now because we became quite good buddies. We really lucked out with the scripts, and when I joined, I kind of knew what was happening, and I'd met Jack and Nuala, and they'd said, look, these are significant episodes where we're doing something very significant in them, and we're following this journey of Mac as he starts off, and he's thinking about stepping up to become an officer and so on and so forth. And so we sort of knew what was coming, but then the scripts, I have to say, the scripts were pretty. We're pretty complete and quite clear in some senses. So then it's just how you go at them. And the emotional stuff is I suppose, was kind of easier for me in that I'd done, in my time as a director, I'd done a fair bit of that, I suppose. And the action, we just kind of dreamt big and just went for it. We had an attitude in terms of how we're going to use the camera, and which is one of the reasons why I wanted to work with Michael, is because Michael, has a history of doing a lot of handheld operating, and I've done a lot of shows that are largely handheld. So I kind of that's the way I kind of really like to work, where the camera is always moving in response to the actors. Now, when you do that, when you go at a scene like that, you can follow the emotion, but you're also following the action. So they kind of go together. And I think the best action filming does that. It's kind of following characters. So it's being with them. It's feeling how they feel, but also feeling how it feels to be shot at, to be shooting, to be in danger, to be daring, to do all that kind of stuff. So we kind of tried to do them together. I think the actors were really, genuinely, people sort of say we were, the actors were very excited about everything, but I think genuinely the actors were very, very excited about these scripts and where they were going and the kind of new territory that Strike Back was visiting. And like you say, there was a lot of action for them to get their teeth into, but also a lot of story, a lot of emotional story about them, and, as performers, they're very tight. They have this amazing emotional bond as people as well as characters. And so, to explore that, I think they were really ready for it. Warren particularly was very, Warren was really easy to direct because I really didn't have to do very much because he was so, he was so ready to do this. So, yeah, we just took it day by day, sequence by sequence, the script made a lot of sense, and so all these action sequences we could plan out. We found great locations. We were lucky with the way locations we could find, and then we would work out how you would genuinely take this. And then I'd get Michael and there's our great operator Steve Murray, and I'd say, okay, so we need to take the fort. How do we do this? And Paul Biddis was there, and we kind of would literally do it like a battle and film it like a battle. Trying to be there as much as possible.
Yeah, we love Paul. He's great. So I want to ask you about, you mentioned Warren in particular being really ready for this. And I had asked Michael Wood about one of my favorite scenes. And again, it's Strike Back, but it's so different, is the interrogation scene when Mac is interrogating Mahir, and you had all these amazing close-ups, which you just don't get a lot of in-the-face stuff with Strike Back. And just so much emotion out of Warren, and he kind of talked about how impressed he was watching your process with Warren and sort of pulling all that out of it. And he was like, it was a lot, they were back and forth and it was a lot, but then we finally kind of got it. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about shooting that scene and sort of, how you work with Warren or actors in general to kind of pull that out of them.
Well, I think all actors are different. They need different things, but I think strangely, I think for something to go to a dangerous place, an actor needs to feel safe that they can go to that dangerous place, or that emotional place, or sad place, whatever place they want to go to. They need to feel kind of safe, and so really, I don't know what Michael's talking about, really. I will just challenge them. and encourage them and say, let go, and they're always really happy to let go. But to give them that kind of space where, it's a trusted space where they can go further, and get closer and get darker and, whatever the scene needs to be, and to explore it, and what's great about the way we filmed it, and, there are specific sort of ways that I like to shoot close-ups, which are not generally sort of direct on, and so we come from certain angles, and I've done that for a while, and it kind of works, I think, for the performers, because they're not feeling that there's a camera in front of them, but the camera is sort of capturing their soul in some way. But when you're directing a camera around an actor who wants to be free, it's a lot easier if you can talk to someone like Michael and say, look, the camera needs to be kind of here at this kind of distance all the time, but you need to react with him. Don't tell him where to go. He's going to take you where he needs to, where he needs to be, and you're just going to follow. You're going to be with him, because I think you can get very bogged. This is, I suppose, the truthful answer is that I let them run things to some degree. I don't say, like, you're going to walk from here to here. You're going to look out the window and the camera's going to track round and do all this kind of like magical stuff. It's like, you go where you need to go, and you two actors, you need to respond, to each other. And I will just push them to do that. And then the camera is just there where it needs to be, rather than the other way around, which I think happens a lot. And it's always, there's two actors in that scene. There's Mahir and there's Warren, and the thing is, they've got to do this thing together. So I was very conscious of trying to get Mahir, pushing at Mahir to be more and more difficult, and we keep doing it. We do it quite a bit. We break into the scene. We don't kind of go, right, okay, well, you've done two versions of that, now we'll do the close-up. It's kind of, you're digging, you're trying to find something, and that's a very intuitive process where you're kind of thinking, I need to feel your anger, so you let Warren get to that point of real anger, because they really feel they're working hard, and Warren works so hard. He works so hard.
I'm glad you brought Bam up, because I think one of the things that Strike Back does best, and that we so appreciate about the show, of all the seasons of the show, is to humanize the baddies. Mm-hmm. And so you always understand their motivation. You always have some way to connect with them and have empathy with what they're trying to do. And I think Mahir has really been sort of a showcase for that, in that mm-hmm. you really develop a lot of empathy for Mahir, especially by the end of this.
Yeah.
But yet that scene with Warren, you don't ever forget that he is, technically a baddie. And yeah. I'd love to hear more about how you worked with Bam. We were hoping to get him on, but it just didn't work out, because his performance is just really, really good. I mean, he's just walking such a tightrope in all of this. Yeah. And can you talk more about working with him?
Yeah, so when I first got to Croatia, to Zagreb, I took Bam and Alec out. We went out and we talked a lot about what they were feeling about who they were, and the process and how we might approach it. And that's how we started. We started just literally, talking and trying to find out what they felt comfortable with, and what they were not feeling comfortable with, and where they were, what they wanted, in a sense, to give, and I realized very quickly that they had so much they wanted to give, and they were slightly frustrated because they get bigger, in a sense, right, those characters, as the season goes on, and they were kind of, we want to be this and we want to do that and we want to have more action and we want to kind of get closer to the action, get closer to the hits, the attacks, and all that sort of stuff. And I really
got pretty close.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what I was thinking, was he got pretty close in the end.
And I loved that, and I kind of thought, okay, so let's try and take them there. Let's go as far as we can with that. And
let's just spread that performance everywhere.
And so they responded really well to that. And actually, I rehearsed with Bam and Warren. We took that scene, because I was very aware that scene was crucial to their characters, the interrogation scene. So, right off the bat, I took them. We rehearsed that scene, And what was great about that is I rehearsed it probably about 3 weeks before shooting it or something, or maybe even more. What was great about that is that I could see what they were coming, where they were coming with their character, with what their characters were offering, and then could start sort of trying to break those characters down, because really what you want to do is you want to expose the vulnerability of these people always, to allow them to go to vulnerable places where you start to see the human being, both actually, Warren and Bam, and Bam, took Bam a little while to actually, I suppose, trust me that he could go that far, and there's a scene where I would sort of grab his leg, while filming, to kind of sort of almost, just to say, look, you need more pain. This needs to hurt more. You've been shot, So I was the bruise for a bit. I was the wound for a bit, because I was saying, you've got to go further. You've got to go further. You've got to go further. And, I'd always let him do what he wanted. And I say, okay, now you got to do it for me. You got to go further. You got to hurt more, because that's what we watch. I think we watch people and how they deal with pain and trial, if you like. So that was really good. And, the same actually with Alec. Alec obviously as the kind of crazy sort of character, the crazy brother or whatever. We needed to develop that character a bit more as to, where he'd come from and what he'd missed and what had happened to him and why was he so crazy. And, but he had a sort of lovely quality, I suppose, and what he brought to it in his, he's a lovely man. And actually it's great to be able to bring that sort of lovely man who's being kind of distorted somehow by his experiences in the past, and to let that come through in how he performed those early scenes, especially, so yeah, it was quite intense. It's quite, it's a very intense experience. We don't hang around, and we're very close. I mean, that's the thing, is like both Michael and I were, and Steve, the operator, who, have you had Steve on? Steve Murray?
We haven't.
You should have Steve Murray on. Steve Murray is an amazing guy and so important to Strike Back, But anyway, Steve and Mike, Steve and I and Michael, we're this close to the actors all the time, just pushing, using wide lenses, which means the camera's like really close to people.
Right.
Well, I mean, it ends up beautiful. So of course, this episode we have to ask about the final scene, which is torture of Warren. And of course, it's going to leave a lot of people, hanging on, wondering what the hell's going to happen next week. So filming that, I mean, so we did get to talk to Sean Gilling a little bit about it. She did tell us kind of a funny story about like the bloodline getting like stepped on and trying to pump through.
Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about the experience of setting up that? I mean, you have this amazing reveal of Ivana, like, who is just, we just adore her. We're going to get to talk to her at the end of the season. We're excited about that. But, it's just this gruesome wound and Warren and blood, and it's kind of crazy. And can you talk about sort of setting that up and how that was done?
Yeah, so it was interesting because it took a while to find the right place to do that to start with, because obviously there's this very long shot. Mm-hmm. I think it's 7-8 minutes, which joins. It just joins two locations really, and in that one continuous shot, that took a lot of planning, and we only cut at the moment where Ariana appears, which gives us the excuse to cut. So there's this extraordinary journey of Mac, coming out of the smoke and going on this singular journey, which is one shot all the way, trying to write something that he felt he did wrong. So it had to have a huge emotional dimension of this guy who just felt that he had to do this. He was driven, hence the kind of the singular shot. Basically you just plan it out in your head. You plan it out in your head and then you walk it, and we walked it in prep, and then we walked it. We had rehearsal day where we'd work out how we were going to get this person through all this and how we were going to keep it exciting and what was going to happen and, who was going to attack him from where. But fundamentally, all through that time, it's all about Mac's desperation to do the right thing, even though it's quite clear, as Novin says, it's like, this is a crazy thing, don't do this. But but he feels so responsible for what's happened, and he takes the whole weight of, that terrible event at, in the square on his shoulders, and this journey, in a sense, is his attempt to release it. So that's just meticulous planning and trick shots, and how you actually work through, a sequence like that to get to this point where, and what I was really keen to do is to, as he goes along, he's losing energy, he's losing blood, but he keeps going, and he keeps this momentum up. And it's such a struggle that you almost kind of get to the point after that length of a shot, and that many bullets at him, and so on and so forth, that, he's still there, but he's almost dragging himself, in those last little bits, that sort of huge bravery of, and I used to talk about, it's like this kind of huge, great wild animal that's just being felled by, these constant blows, and he gets there and finally,
I'm gonna start crying.
Right? I'm like, I feel my face is like starting to get hot, like flush. I'm like, okay, don't want to get emotional. It's just an interview. Sorry, please
and
go ahead.
He gets to the point where, he thinks he's got there and he's going to get this answer, and there's this extraordinary oddity is in front of him. And of course that's the one thing, because it's so odd, can't figure it, that he momentarily lets his, to take the bullet as he does. And then so we filmed that in pretty much in order. We did this long sequence up there, got to the point where he took the bullet, and we didn't do it many times. We talked about it, but because we'd done this huge journey on this day, it was all continuous, and it just had this amazing momentum. And I think Warren went into this amazing sort of zone where he was so focused and so on it, and then when he took it, obviously there's loads of technical aspects to this, but he was just amazingly in this zone, and I all we did was honor that, really, and keep the camera in the right place to sort of to just literally be there with him,
But let's back it up a little bit and talk about the scene that Michael actually really talked about quite a bit as being really challenging, was the whole shootout in the car park.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was.
So he really loved shooting that.
Yeah. It was amazing. So that day, it was like pretty much the whole crew came out of that car park really stressed, and it was basically just because the amount of rounds we shot in a concrete box, it was just so much stress to your body. I mean, it was extraordinary. And then, obviously the water, and it was just, the noise was just absolutely awful. Yeah, that was challenging on so many levels. But I kind of also loved it. It was kind of, I enjoyed that day, because there's some really great, because I kept saying to Michael, we need less light, trying to like pull the light down, just to give it that kind of crazy atmosphere. But we were doing some lovely shots, just the way the camera moved, I really, really loved. And I think, for a bit, actually, we used a Movi quite a lot, which is just like this sort of, a camera in a gimbal, which you just carry around. So that gave the beginning of the sequence this kind of balletic sort of smoothness. And then when they engage, it all goes handheld and everything kind of gets chaotic, which was a really exciting way of shooting. I mean, God, it really was hard work, though, just trying to tell the story of what happened, because it's kind of weirdly harder with handheld, because you need to really be precise about exactly what you need to see when. So you're going through all these shots that you need, while in quite a limited amount of time. God, I'm fascinated to talk to Michael now. I'm seeing him tomorrow. We did talk about it a lot, about how stressful it was, and then trying to get the water to work. And it was surprising, because the water really did work much better than we thought, actually, because obviously the car park didn't want us to let off all their sprinklers. So we had to kind of, fake all that. And how the hell are we going to do all that? And getting the smoke to go off without all the smoke detectors and literally all those rounds. And we had this machine gun that kept jamming, which was like really infuriating. All these things that happen,
Yeah.
On a day when you think we need that shot now. And I really liked it. I loved, Novan did some lovely stuff down there. It was lovely because you basically got this scene, largely between Mac and Novan, and they're so together. And that was one of the scenes where they're so together and they're working as such a team. And the way they connect and way they communicate was, sort of fantastic. I really enjoyed that emotional bit between them. And when she's sort of dragging V around, is hilarious. When V takes a hit. It was a lovely scene because it's like V's kind of is saying, it's great, I get to shoot people. And it's kind of, yes, but if you shoot people, you're kind of not doing the right thing, are you? And you're going to overstep. You're going to overstep the mark, and you're going to get clipped. And then you're going to put the team in danger. And so there's a whole narrative going on that's really important about how they relate and how she's trying to step up. But actually her attempt to step up is actually, Mac's right. Is like, just don't do that because in the end you get wounded. Now what are we going to do? Yeah, it was a long day.
And that was just one of several massive shootouts that you had in this episode, because there's also pretty enormous shootout at the gas station as well. But then that all led to, Mahir having the bomb strapped on in the middle of traffic. And that was, we've never really seen something like that on Strike Back before. Bombs go off all the time on Strike Back, but we've never really seen the aftermath.
Yeah, we've never stuck around.
So, it's always just, okay, now we go to the next location for something, or we follow the baddies out.
Yeah.
So that was really unique. And I think that whole scene with Novan trying to say, no, this is where we're needed. And meanwhile, there was some pretty gruesome stuff going on.
Yeah.
How much discussion did you all have about how far you were going to go with that?
Well, I suppose the thing is that I was really keen, because the thing is what's really important in the story is that you see the thing that drives Mac. And so you see is what makes him feel so bad, what makes him feel so guilty, that drives him to do something, to break ranks in effect, And, right from the get-go, I worked out a way of doing it, basically. I kind of said, look, a lot of filming is opportunity, and so what I attempted to do, or what we did, was to find a ruined building. Not a ruined building, but a building that it gave us a really good fabric that we could then build on to show it that had literally just been blown apart. And we were really lucky. Croatia, there's this hospital that never got finished on the wall. They'd nearly finished, and the Balkans War happened, and then it never got finished. So it was all there. So that became the basis of our set. And with Robert, the designer, I kind of said, well, look, we can make this the basis of our set for afterwards. So what we need to do is weirdly find the place that looks like this before it's blown up to match up these two locations. Because in a way, the exploded set was more important than the actual, than where it happened. I mean, that wasn't easy because, we needed scale. And I have to say, Croatia was good to us because we said, can we, blow up not exactly your main square, just off the main square? And they said, yes, okay, it'll have to be something. So we could do that, and then literally cut into this huge hospital building that looked like a street, because it kind of had streets in it. So I really kind of held on to that, and really, obviously it's a really good team on Strike Back, and everyone kind of goes, this sounds like a good idea. And Robert Foster was kind of all over it, and he said, this is the way we should do it. We can do this, we can drop all the cars in and blow them up and whatever. But yeah, no, it just felt so important because this was a very singular event happening, to take this character from here to taking that bullet at the end of the episode.
Yeah, it works. Again, I honestly think that this block, and again, people listening haven't seen 6 yet, but it is going to go down as one of the best blocks in the series. It's absolutely phenomenal. And we appreciate you spending so much time with us. And we, we do need to wrap. So we always ask one final question. Deb got this from Philip Winchester, actually, because he talked about, she was interviewing him, and he said the question he likes to ask people who work on Strike Back is their highs and lows, because you go through kind of the shit together, and then you look back on it with rose-colored glasses. So, if you could give us your highs and lows.
Oh my God! These are the hard questions. The final question.
I think he just gave me that question because he hates answering it.
Yeah. God, I had so many highs. I mean, this is terrible because I did really. I'm going to be honest. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. Because it's hard stuff, actually. But I really did. I think Michael and I, we just had a ball the whole time. And he is nevertheless right in that the car park was probably coming out of the car park at the end of the day, soaking and deaf, was really, really challenging. It was, because it was literally like we had been in this enormous firefight. And we'd kind of lost. It was kind of, just physically, that was the thing. That was literally the physical low of kind of being on a battlefield, and just the shock that your body takes was kind of extraordinary. I think. Do you want the high in 5 or the high in the block?
The high in general, if it's not a spoiler.
Or you can give us 5.
Or you give us,
and then we can cut in 6 later.
Yes.
It's a little bit. I mean, there was. There's so many. I tell you, there was one high of many highs. There was this extraordinary. So in 5, there is this stunt where the tanker flips over and hits the gas station. Yeah, and we planned that out so meticulously, and it was going to be 3 shots. Because we needed the tanker to flip over, and then we couldn't drive the tanker into the petrol station because that would be stupid, and blah blah blah. We'd break things and whatever. And I was talking to the head of stunts, and I said, God, I get so nervous on these days because there's a man in a huge vehicle and he's going to flip it, and I always get kind of scared for him. And it's like get nervous, and and Paul was the Shapcock was kind of saying, "No, I love my job. This is a great day." Anyway, and I was thinking, "Oh God," because we've got to flip a truck, and then we've got to take there's all this kind of technical stuff we had to do, take the truck to drag it. Anyway, the guy gets in the truck, and he does it, and he flies down the runway, and he literally, it was 3 shots, and so he did it. He flipped it so late, with the way you flip it is you put these cannons on the side of the truck, and they literally explode the truck on the side. And the truck went into the gas station and stopped absolutely perfectly next to where it was meant to stop in the 3rd shot. This in the 1st shot. And it's like he did the whole thing.
He did the whole thing.
So it all happened for real.
Yeah.
It all happened. We didn't have to do, and it was literally this beautiful sunny Friday, and it was like, you just did the whole shot.
That's amazing.
It was kind of it was one of those things where I turned to Shapco and said, I cannot believe you achieved that, because he'd been saying, well, we'll get it kind of close, and then you'll have to do this pull with wires and stuff. It was amazing, and we all went home like feeling, on cloud 9. And I saw the guy in the bar afterwards who'd driven the truck, and I said, that was amazing. And he said, sometimes it just goes right. And he was so high because he'd had so much adrenaline pouring through him.
Yeah.
And I just went up to him and said, thank you so much. That was just so brave and so amazing. And, we had a lovely Friday night out, It was one of those things. And we didn't have to do all the other things, which, would have been painful, and the stunt wouldn't have been half as good. But it was full of things like that, the days, And also, I suppose in some ways, if I'm really honest, my favorite bit of that whole thing was, there were times with Warren, there's scenes with Warren. He gave so much, and at the end of the day, I just thought we really did something incredibly special, as a team today. We really did, and you put yourself out there, we all put ourselves out there, and I could feel it go down the lens, and it was, there was a real honor when you get that, and when you, because for all the amount of bullets we shoot in a season, it's like moments like that just make it what it is.
Thanks, and tune in next week for another Need to Know session at the Crib. Follow us on Twitter @StrikeBackCrib. Out.